Hello, and welcome to this week's Talk About It Tuesday. As I was preparing for this one, I was thinking, should I talk about this? Should I not? So, of course, I'm gonna talk about it. So, first of all, what I would like to say before we get started is hats off to all you single parents, especially like you single moms. I could not do it. I've been married for almost 15 years, and like I have a couple friends who are single moms, and I'm just like, there's no way in heck I could date like these years. I'm just like, whoa, the stories I hear. So today we're gonna talk about one of those stories that I heard from a friend, um, and she'll remain anonymous, but it's a story, and I'm just like, I'm still thinking about it. Like, there is no way that I could date because my patience are too low, first of all, and I would give these guys something to run for. Anyways, so thank God I am married. But hats off to you ladies who are single parents, single moms, single dads, like, and who are dating, because no, not for me. Anyway, so my friend, my dear friend, she met this guy online. Okay. He said he was about like 38 years old, I think it was. So around my age. And he claimed he worked on an oil rig as a supervisor. And he said that he was like well off. He didn't really give her a number, but he just kind of led on to like, hey, I'm well off, like, like saying things like, oh, I'm gonna retire early, I have enough money to retire early at 38. Hey, I know it can happen. I was aiming for it, missed it, but I was aiming for it. Hopefully I get it next time around, but I know it can happen. um that's not the thing. And then it was just like he was laying on a little thicker, like, yeah, my two boys, first he said that he has two younger boys, under the age of 10, I believe, and he's a widower, and his wife had died a few years prior. I felt really bad. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope they're okay, the empath in me. And then as the story started unraveling, I was like, nah, I don't feel bad for him. He catfishing you or something. So he said that his boy's mother, his wife, who he was the love of his life, had died in a car crash on her way to visit her family. Then he said that his boys, when he's away on the oil rig for weeks or months at a time, I guess, overseas, that his boys are in boarding school. So not too unbelievable. Okay. But what got me was when he said that he lives in California, right? Where we live, but a little further than where we live, about 2-3 hours away. And his boys go to boarding school in Canada. So I'm like, hold up, chick, I'm confused. So are they Canadian, or are they like American citizens? Do they like dual citizenship? Like, was the wife Canadian and the boys are like, what? No, the answer is no. They were not Canadian. Their kids were in boarding school in Canada, but they lived in California. And then he was in an oil rig in the Netherlands. What? Okay, so me, I start digging a little deeper because I'm that kind of chick. Ain't nobody gonna be messing with my friends, and so I'm like, okay, you need to find out. As I'm asking questions, I'm like, okay, you need to find out if like his backstory. So she's like, oh, he told me. So he was an orphan at like is as a teenager, and one of his best friends, he grew up in a different state, and one of his best friends took him in. His family took him in. They were like an affluent um Caucasian family or whatnot. And he said that. Oh, and I forgot to mention this. So The brother is clearly black, okay? I mean, he could be mixed. Like, he light-skinned it a little bit, light-skinned. A little, maybe my tone, maybe a shade lighter. Anyways, but he's talking about when she asked him, what is he was like, oh, I'm German. Okay, that's cool. What else are you? Oh, I'm just German. He just claimed he's white. He's just German. Okay. All right, whatever. So that was my first red flag. Sorry, my earrings are acting up. Okay. Um, and so he claims that his dad was German from Germany and his mom is black from Michigan, I think. So when she asked him, like, okay, what else are you? He's like, oh, my mom is from Michigan. Okay, so what is she? My mom's from Michigan. Okay, look, skip over that sucker because you obviously don't know who the hell you are. So that's kind of the backstory. But he claimed that his dad died by way of poison. Someone poisoned him over land. I was like, is this medieval times or what? And then his mom died of a heart attack, which is believable, you know. Poison's believable too, but I'm just like, in the United States, like, I guess, hey, it happens on Ozark, okay? So, anyway, so, yeah, it was just a lot of stuff coming down. So then he's like, hey, I'm gonna come, I'm gonna live by you and your two boys, because she's a mom, like I said, and she has two boys under the age of 15. So he's like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, our boys can meet, and, you know, and I'm gonna come live by you. I'm gonna buy a house over there. So he's talking to a realtor. Yeah, talking to a realtor about buying a house, right? And something during that whole time wasn't sitting right with me. I was just like, should I tell her? Should I not? And those who know me, like, I'm an empath, but I'm also like, I also have like great intuition. So I'm intuitive too. So sometimes I get like messages, and the message I was getting was like, this dude is a fake. Like, he's a fake. But not only that, but it was like, she thought that they were in like a relationship, and I was like, no, the word cheater keep coming up, like he's cheating, but he's married. And I was like, I see him being like married, and I see like all these like people, like, okay, so I'll just tell you guys what I thought, what I was getting. Like, it was a ring of like Nigerians. I'm gonna just say a ring of Nigerians that was playing the role of him, is what I was seeing. And like that they would have like a notebook and like write down like little notes here and there. But I kept that to myself because I was like, well, maybe not. Maybe, am I tripping? I'm kind of skeptical anyway. So am I tripping? Is she tripping? I don't know. Is he tripping? So I kept that to myself for a little while. And then she opened up a little bit more about the situation and the relationship and a little bit of her concerns around it. And I was like, okay, this is a great time, Crystal, bite your tongue. Don't say nothing. Let her figure it out. Like, and then you just reassure her along the way and kind of pinpoint and ask questions. So I'm like, okay. So she's like, okay, well, he's gonna come down. Him and the boys are gonna come down, fly in next weekend, and he want me to meet the boys and meet them at the airport. So I was like, okay, please don't let them meet your kids, you know, because you don't know this person. Like, why is he involving the kids after like a month or two of like talking on the phone, you know? Oh, and she claimed that they met each other, like actually went on a date. But I know my friend, and I could tell her tone. Didn't happen. Anyway, so she was happy. I was happy for her. I'm like, okay, well, if you're saying that he's a different kind of guy that you've ever dated, and he's well-spoken and well-to-do, and he's this professional guy, then I am so happy for you. But in the back of my head, I just kept getting the same message that it's not the guy that she's talking to. Like, it's a catfish. So this is where it gets really juicy, okay? So he leaves supposedly for the Netherlands to go on his oil rig. He's an oil rig supervisor, he says. So to go on the oil rig, and he's also going to retire then, and then he'll come back buy his house, and live happily ever after with my friend. Sounds so simple, doesn't it? No. So he leaves for the Netherlands, supposedly. He was supposed to come back that next weekend. Didn't show up. Nothing. Didn't hear from him. Actually, she says she spoke with him the day of something that happened, an incident happened. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. So she says she spoke to him probably like an hour before, and then crickets. Nothing happened. Nothing. And then the next morning, she finds out, he calls her and says that there was an explosion on the oil rig. Okay. And I'm like, oh my gosh, an explosion. Wouldn't that be on the news? Wait, wouldn't somebody have written that on the newspaper or somewhere, right? I couldn't find it nowhere. She looked, I looked, shoot, couldn't find it nowhere. Anyway, so he said he's in the hospital. And I said, well, how did it explode? Like, that's crazy. He claims that exploded because his friend on the oil rig made a phone call. Yes, a phone call. So I was so confused. I'm like, what? A phone call? Wait, if you can explode an oil rig just from a phone call, why don't they put their cell phones away? Like, you would think the boss man or boss woman would like be like, click, click, lock it up, right? So that didn't make no sense to me. But whatever, he was a part of the explosion. He got thrown, the guy thrown. I said, did somebody die? She said, supposedly maybe somebody may have died. One person, his friend that was closer to the explosion, blah, blah. He sends pictures of him. And I kid you not, it looked like he was just in like a bar fight, like just a black eye right here and a little bit of blood coming out the nose, but he's standing upright. So I'm like, nah. And he said, that his nose was broken. And if you've ever seen somebody's broken nose, like it gets like, right? His nose was normal. It was like, I was like, no, girl, no. Anyway, so of course I go into like sister protection mode because this is when I'm like, look, I gotta lay all the cards online. This is what I was seeing, this is what I was hearing, this is what I feel. So along with talking to her, we started putting pieces together. So I told her, I'm like, girl, let's do like they do on Catfish and send me the videos. Send me whatever he sent you and I'll just like reverse image it, right? So he tells her these stories about, so he had some pictures, and one of the pictures was like him supposedly underwater, right? Doing his oil rig stuff. I don't know what they do, but oil rig stuff. And so he's under the water supposedly, right? And I reverse imaged it and it came from the CDC website. Yes. Okay. So I was like, nope, that's not him. And then I reverse imaged the oil rig pictures, and they weren't oil rigs. They were from the naval, like from the Navy. They were naval ships. Yes. And then they had another one of supposedly his friend about to go underwater, and he had all these stories. It was from the US Navy again. So all these pictures were just coming up as like bam, 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 bam. I was able to like that quickly like really just decipher his story and tear it a piece and tear it apart. So as we're talking, I forgot to mention you guys, part of the message that I had gotten was that he's gonna ask for money soon. And I knew that when he did that, I'm like, because like she kind of let him know a little too much information, like, hey, I'm gonna buy a house too. So of course, if you're saying, oh, you're gonna buy a house too, then people think that, okay, you must have a nest egg so that you could put your down payment, right? So I'm like, stop telling him stuff. You don't know this man. Stop telling him stuff about you, about your kids and about your life and where you live and all this information that I'm just saying, like, y'all, like, we gotta be, especially as like, women in general, like we gotta be safe. But I can only imagine if you live by yourself, you're by yourself, like you really, really gotta click, lock it in. Okay, so she's like telling him all this information. So he's thinking, okay, she got money, right? Wrong, she don't got no money. She's a single mama. Okay, living paycheck to paycheck like most of us, myself included. Anyway, so like I'm like, all right, sis, let's get down to this. What do you think and what do you want? So she tells me what she thinks. I'm validating what she thinks. Then I'm putting little tidbits in her ear too, like matching two plus two is not equaling to four with this story, you know? And so later on, I want to say when I was on the phone with her, no, it was the next day when the next day she called me and she was like, I got this email. And I was like, what? You got an email from who? And she's like, from his boss. And the email had typos. First of all, they didn't know how to spell Exxon Mobil. They had one X. Anyways, they didn't know how to spell a lot of things. Anyways, this email letter or whatever it was just so ridiculous. It You can clearly just see that it was like cut paste from someone who didn't like really speak English that well. And they were saying like, oh, you requested your husband to retire and we need your information. And they were asking for all this information from her. And so I was like, girl, no, like ask them for what, right? Because I wanted to just see what they say because I knew it was going to be about money. And I was like, no, ask them like, why do you need information from me? We're not married. Why do you have my email? Blah, 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 right? So she emails them back and they email her back and they said, well, if you want him to retire, you have to pay like $8,300. Yes, $8,300 for him to retire his job. Does that make sense? You better leave that sucker right there at that job forever. I'm not paying $8,300 for anybody to retire, okay? So, yes, it was about the money. So she like was like, no, I'm not paying nothing, blah blah. I was like, yeah, you better not. So he wound up calling her trying to say, oh, did you get an email from my boss and blah blah. And she's like, yeah, blah blah. So anyway, so she wound up ditching him, wound up not talking to him. And I was like, I was like, well, what I'm feeling God wants you to do is just really focus on yourself this year. Like 2022 should be about you. Hey, I didn't think of that. 2022 should be about you. Focus on yourself, your career, your kids. Like, I feel like I just feel like a lot of women these days, like we are always like here and there and all over the place and doing everything for everybody but ourselves. And I'm speaking to myself too. We just do so much, especially when we have families, like we're just putting out, putting out, putting out, putting out. And then we're not really putting back in. So that's what I was feeling. Like I know she was like putting out so much. And I'm like, you gotta love yourself, like love yourself down, right? And I was like, you need to love who you are in the inside, not just looking in the mirror like, ooh, yeah, child, I look good. No, not that kind of love. Like you really need to look at your core, your heart, and love who you are deep inside. So the question that I had was like, do you love yourself? And how can you begin to form that relationship with yourself, right? And then my other one was like, at this point, I forgot to mention, like at this point, it's been relationship after relationship after relationship of like these users and these like scum of the earth type of guys. So I'm like, you need to ask yourself, what are you putting out where they feel like they can come to you with that BS, right? What are you putting out in the world? Because we want to so quickly blame him and her and them and they and all these people, right? We want to blame them whenever stuff happens to us. But now it's time to ask God, like, what am I putting out in this world that allows guys to feel like they can approach me with that BS? Because I was like, hey, I mean, sometimes when I'm out, I get hit on, but it's not like scummy guys. Like, no, I'm not putting that out there and I'm not going to entertain that. So what are you entertaining that allows them to think that they can take advantage of you, right? So I just wanted to put that out there for you guys to think, especially you women who are dating, single women. There's some like predators out there. I mean, I know you hear it every day. You think, oh, it's not gonna happen to me, but it's like it can, and most of the time, especially now with social media, it will. Um, it's just, I want you guys to realize that you are loved and you are love. So let's spread out love, but let's be wise about it, who we spread our love out to, right? And just because a guy approaches you and he's fine and he claims to have this, that, and that, it doesn't mean that he's not scum still. It doesn't mean that he's not going to come at you with some BS story and try to still persuade you to do things that you might not want to do. And so I just want to encourage you to first focus on who you are and love who you are to the core, because if you love who you are to the core, nobody can like break that, nobody can get into that, right? You wouldn't allow that kind of stuff to come at you. Nope, you just blocking it. Nope, BS. Nope, because I love me and I don't need you to tell me that I'm pretty. I don't need you to tell me that you love me. Those are beautiful words. But, we all want to hear them. But, you want to hear it from the right person. So I just wanted to talk about that today. Leave your response in the comments. If you have a crazy story like that too, please email me. I have it in the details, and maybe I'll share your story, or maybe we'll just email back and forth about it. But y'all be safe out there, especially you single people who are dating. You know, I didn't get into more details. There's more details to the story, but I chose to keep it out. But just know that, especially if you have kids, protect your children. You are their number one protector. Don't let guys talk to your kids or girls talk to your kids right off the bat. Don't let them crack that, because like we're over here raising young adults, young women, and we need to protect them in such a way that we make it well known. Okay, you want to date me? You got to wait until you do X, Y, and Z, and you don't have to tell them. Just have that checklist in your head, right? Okay, did he do this? Did he do that? Did he do this? Who is he, right? Figure out who he is before you introduce them to your kids, and make it well known. It's an honor to even know my kid's name, their age, anything. Like anything about my kids, it's a freaking honor. So until you earn that most highest honor, nah. Like we talking about, we locking it down more than the US president, okay, in this with my kids. Like, no. So I just want to encourage you guys to love yourselves, take care of you, and everything will fall in place, But if you have a story that you would like to share, and you want me to share it in return, or talk about a specific topic, then definitely email me. Okay? All right. See you next Tuesday. Bye.